Kimmy can't sit still for
I
nothing.
can't. I think there's something wrong with me. We got to talk offline, but I really think there's something wrong with me. I'll tell you why I think that is, but I can't tell you.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's going to be one of those conversations. Hey guys, hey Bethany family, I'm sorry. You know, we get so excited when we see each other. You know, we just start catching up and start talking to each other. But we are so happy that you guys are back tuning in. So we're going to give you guys a couple minutes to come on in. We invite you guys to come on in and join the conversation. As you guys can see, the whole family's here. And you know what family this is. It is the Recap Family, 5:30 every Monday, where we recap the amazing word that we were blessed with over the weekend. All right. So like I love doing our amazing intros for our amazing panel. Up the top, we're going to start with our cherry on the top, the man that drops all the wisdom, all the knowledge, and he brings us all together, Mr. Reverend Valdez.
How y'all doing? I feel like we intro him for like a boxing match or something. No,
I need like the bell and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I may bring some props. You know, I think that may add to it.
Here you go.
You know, y'all just started something. Let me go on Amazon. And in the middle, we have our amazing social media director, Sister Maximize Monday.
Hey guys.
And then next to her, we have the incredible Deacon McGee.
Oh my goodness.
And down at the bottom, I have my soul sister, my shady soul sister, my engaged live sister, Sister Des.
Hey, Kev. Hey, guys.
And as you guys know, my name is Brother Kevin, and we love coming to you guys every Monday at 5:30 just to recap this word that we were fed. But before we get into that, we have so much to talk about. Before anything, it's a new month. How do you guys feel about going into this last month of 2020?
It's crazy.
It's like bittersweet because it's like, ooh, 2021, but also like, ooh, 2021. What do you have in store for us? You know?
I don't quite know what to feel because I feel like I had high hopes for 2020. I was like,
exactly.
2020. And then we see how that went. So 2021, of course, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm like, okay, what's it going to bring?
Those vision boards are going to look different this year.
Right. I know everybody looking at their vision board for 2020 like, what?
Just stay alive, honestly, at this point.
Right now, I know one thing that's going to be on my vision board for 2021 is a treadmill or something because this COVID wave it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I am just so... It's just when we had communion last night and just think about like Christmas is around the corner. It's like, oh my gosh, the end of the year is really here.
Right.
Yeah. I'm excited though.
Yeah, I'm excited too. You know, every new year, you know, it's a great opportunity to just get a restart and, you know, a fresh look at things. So we are so excited, but we do want to hear from you guys. And, you know, that brings me to my point of our broadcast. You know, I always say that these broadcasts are only as good as you make them, guys. So we want you guys to come in and we invite you guys to share your comments, share your questions about the sermon, share whatever you like. I see my brother Kevin English is in the comments. Happy belated to you, sir.
Happy belated, man.
Birthday.
Yeah,
happy belated. That fresh photo shoot. Mm-hmm. We're gonna talk about it on Fresh Friday now. I'm gonna bring it up. But no, we invite you guys to share how your day is going, what's the end of the year plans that you have for yourself, how you feeling going into this new month, as well as this word that we received on Sunday. Now, something else that we did special this Sunday, you know, it's a new month and we started something new at Bethany. As you guys know, we are always, every month is something different, whether it's a challenge, whether it's Catch the Fire, but we did change our encounter series, our sermons and our broadcast, little different, right? So we did do something called Engage Live, where you see some familiar faces from different panels that will be on Engage Live and just to help you, you know, stay engaged during that time. So panel, I want to ask you guys, how did it feel like watching a longer service this Sunday and then participating in Engage Live and seeing everything? Like, how did it make you guys feel?
It's like a dream come true, man. I think the reason why, because, you know, as we know behind the scenes, there's been a lot of work going into the Engage Live project. There's been a lot of learning curves that we had to experience and things we had to get up to par to get there. But to see it all pan out on screen and to be in excellence as everything else usually is, I was like, we did it. You know,
Yes.
I had a big Kool-Aid smile on my face. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was wonderful to see, you know, and I'm excited for, you know, the next couple times that we're going to do this and ongoing and how we're going to vamp it up again, because I know how Maya and passionate can be. So I'll be waiting for
Tell me about it.
Let's get past the first couple first.
By February, we'll be changing.
Oh, Ava, yes, you saw that running up the stairs. I'm still living from that. I need to be running up the stairs right now. But shout out to you, Sister Ava, too. We saw you on Engage Live this week as well. So thank you for joining us with that. I was like, one of these days we got to get Sister Ava up here, and it was a perfect opportunity. But how about you guys, the rest of you guys? How did it feel about the longer services? CFAM came back this week, as well as Engage Live. How did you guys enjoy it?
It kind of felt like a real service. Like, not that the other format wasn't a real service. It just felt like, I don't know. It felt like how in church felt, you know?
It was fuller, closer to what we're used to.
Right, right.
Yeah. No, it was nice being able to see all those elements that we would be seeing anyway, if we were to have church in person. Yeah. And seeing the drama ministry, they do it every single time.
Yeah, they do good.
Before we go back at the end, I was like, oh man.
Right.
That was the best.
Right.
No, but it was great. I loved it. And I loved Engaged. I love how engaged we were with the audience, and they seemed to like it really well also. So it was great.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Getting back to that format, man, it was just tremendous to see. Just a wonderful job. I did great. It was cool.
Yeah. And we want you guys, speaking of Engage, we want you guys to tune in every Sunday as we do that. It is for you guys, like we said on Sunday, it is that time for you to fellowship with your church family across the world. So it was such a blessing to us behind the scenes as well as to you guys. So Sister Maya, being the social media director, how important was it to you to do something like Engage Live and everything, especially during this time as we are anticipating another shutdown and, things are starting to close again. And, some people, their faith may get a little shaky during this time and they need that church or that word and that connection. How important was that for you, with Engage Live and getting that started?
No, it's really important. If you think about it this way, church is a building. It's the people that make it a church, right? And the connection that we have with each other, and with us not being able to meet in person, it's been harder to do that. Yeah. So being able to have this element of things now where we can engage with you guys, talk to you, like we had Sister Ava, as part of it while she's a Connections Church member. So for me, it just solidified that union that we have as a church family. Yeah. And that even though we can't be here, in person, we can still be together online and through these broadcasts that we're doing week by week. So it was really important. And it was nice to see, again, how people enjoyed it. We had some people who got saved on the broadcast. So for me, it's that's what it's all about. So.
Yes. That's awesome. And we're so happy that you guys are enjoying that. And, like we say every week on every panel, it's so important that you press that share button. Something that Sister Des and I said yesterday is that, we are like bedside Baptists right now during this time. But you may be asking, how can you still do God's work by being a bedside Baptist? And you could simply by just press the share button. You don't know whose life is going to touch. You don't know, maybe someone, your family member that you haven't talked to in a while is watching something that you're sharing on your broadcast. You may have a coworker. Deacon Antoine's coworkers always come and bless us with some great, content and comments. So we want
Miss Roman.
So we want you guys to please share, because that is a part of the ministry as well that you're doing at home. Please just share that word, because you never know who it may be blessing. So we want to say thank you guys that are being faithful at sharing, that are liking, and also commenting, and letting us know how you guys feel, right?
Yeah.
So with all of that being said,
Sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine. We're loving
Okay.
the Christmas festivities.
Christmas tree.
We love the Christmas tree, giving us that. That's what we need, right? But
Yeah.
Bishop continued with the amazing worship that we had, CFAM that we had, and then on top of that, that word and this continuation of letting go of toxic people.
Mhm.
This sermon in particular was entitled The Spirit of Cain, right? Before we get into anything, how did you guys feel about it? It was
going first.
Her eye roll for me. She just looked at my eye. But I think that we say each week is that like we get another layer of it, and like I don't know for you guys, but I like it literally has me looking at so many different people differently.
Yeah.
Not in a negative way, but just a way to protect my peace and protect me. And I think it's the best time for, Bishop always drops some gems at the best time, but what an amazing time to start changing that perspective and seeing that circle around you as we're going into this new year, right?
Yeah. No,
So
totally.
Yeah, that I completely agree with that. Like it was very timely, and I agree with what you said. Like going into the new year, because I feel like him teaching us toxic people towards the end of the year is so we don't carry anything else or anybody else with us in the coming year. Because even at the beginning of this year and the end of last year, he was teaching on like vision, like 2020 and the year. So it's like, okay, that only makes sense for you to see, open your eyes to see what's around you, see the people in your space, to get clarity. So it's always so timely. And I just love that he has such a strong connection with God that he literally just downloads and can give us everything he has.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, to me, it's like another perspective of it. Like, oh, Bishop, another perspective. You get another character that fits that description so well.
Yeah.
And how they really reacted to that situation, and how we should see people that react to that situation or a different situation in our life. It was like, wow. And he continues to drop gems, like she said, just like he sees it and he puts it out to us where we can understand it and apply it to our life. It's wonderful.
And what I'm loving the most about it is like, it's like, not that it hasn't before, but like, I don't know, this time now that we're shut in and like we have to focus on certain things, like it's making me like relearn about the Bible and the story and the characters and looking at it in another perspective. Like, wow, I didn't even think of it like that. And the family dynamics and those close to you, it mind blow, right?
Yeah.
Like if you really think about it, the Bible is like the best drama love story that you can think of. Like it has a lot in it that most people just think it's, they think it's a lot of rules and regulations, but it's really a story, of God interacting with his people throughout history.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
Oh my gosh. So I want to say Bishop came out of the book of Genesis, chapter 4, verse 6. And we are familiar with the story where Cain and Abel are the children of Adam and Eve, and it is generally accepted that they were twins. The Bible makes a distinction in their function in the family. Abel is a shepherd and Cain is the tiller of the field. Cain is a farmer who deals with grass, greens, hay, wheat, and all those things that feed the vegetarian part of life, but Abel is a shepherd. Some people say it was not fair for God to reject Cain's offering and accept Abel's because Cain was a tiller of the ground and he wasn't a shepherd, but Abel was a shepherd. In the process of time is where the revelation is for us. In the process of time, meaning Adam and Eve had accurate experience with what God would receive as a sacrifice. So Cain comes and brings of the field, and Abel comes and brings of his flock. What Bishop is trying to explain to us is that toxic people want God to bend the rules for them. In addition, toxic people get upset when you obey God. So what are your thoughts about toxic people getting upset with you when you obey God, panel?
So true.
Let's talk about it. Let's wake it up.
Wake it up.
Let's wake it up. I would just say, it helps you to bring light to different people's motives in your life. So the moment that you step out on faith and begin to walk in the purpose that God has for you, the things that he wants you to do, there are going to be people that are not going to be happy about it. you know, and then their action or their response will show you, you know, where their heart is toward you. And it'll show you like where if they have a toxic relationship with you and you don't even know it, like they're only with you for because you were quiet, because you were in the shadows. But now that you're in the light, now there's a problem. Like, okay, you're in the light. Does that mean I got to be in the light? Or why? Or are you doing too much? Or
You're taking
you
away
need to sit down.
from their attention.
Yeah. So like, these are all things that I've heard personally. So, you know, this was great to allow you to be able to kind of filter through and see like who's with you and who's not. But it's also a good filter for you to know when you have those thoughts in your head.
Right.
You know, because sometimes we may think it too.
Be real about it.
You know, like, ooh, why are they doing all that? It don't take all that.
Right.
You know, some people have those thoughts. And I always reflect back like, oh, I've said that before. Okay. You know, that kind of thing. So it's good.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes we do it subconsciously. You know, you say something and then you have to go back and revert yourself like, no, I shouldn't have put myself. I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have thought. I mean, you're gonna think some stuff anyway, but you know, try to go back and mend it. Like, you know, no, they're not doing too much. They're doing what God told them to do. You know, stuff like that. You know, because it seems like we all have those thoughts, and then we have to replace them with godly thoughts. I guess you have to.
I like that. I like that. Sister Maya, you want to add to that?
Yeah, you gonna go?
You can go ahead.
I wasn't sure. No, I completely agree that, you know, there are a lot of times where people see you moving in one direction and they try to pause what's going on with you, you know? Or like when the question that someone asked on the discussion yesterday, and I reset it on the Engage Live, that you know, sometimes toxic people, if they're in your space at a certain time, then they are there for your transition. It's kind of the I knew you when type of thing, or I knew what you used to do or who you used to be, and so it's like, well, why are you changing now? You know, you do this thing with us or with me, and now all of a sudden you're transitioning, you're changing. Like, who do you think you are? And it's like, no, like, I think that we've made like sometimes the toxic is for the better for you. You know what I mean? Like to better you or to get you out of a situation to make you better. So yeah.
And I think that's the hardest, like when you do have those people that been with you for a while, and you know, when you do that transition and when you do that change, people try to like always bring up your past, but there's a reason why it's called your past, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes what's hard about it is because you have to outgrow those people, and sometimes you can't take those people to your next dimension or you know, your new identity or something. You know, I think that's the hardest about it. Sister Maya, did you want to add anything about that?
No, I mean, it's always very interesting to me, like that concept of, you know, fairness and things not being fair, and how that kind of instigates things in your own spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like I don't really have anything to add. It's just that's just always something like, why can't we just be thankful for the blessings we have instead of trying to make that comparison to what I have and what someone else does.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we know what you mean. We know.
It's weird though. People compare themselves a lot to others, and it's like, why can't we get past that? That's why I feel what you're saying. Like, why can't we just move on here for everyone? But it's like somebody you feel like, and probably from the toxic person position, they feel like you done turned the lane on them. Everybody's going the same way, but you turned around and went the other way.
Right.
And so now it looks like you're in a different direction than them, or a wrong direction, but you're going in the right direction.
Right.
And you change stuff, and they can't get it through their mind. And it's like, now they're questioning what you're doing, but you know it's a godly thing, and he's told you to do a certain thing. It's like someone with a great idea. At first, people don't get the idea, like the iPhone. You don't get it, and you start talking junk about it. But then once you start working with it, or you know, get it, you're like, oh man, this is great. And you should be the whole time. Not everybody. Now, some people just straight up toxic, but some people could have been with me the whole time. Instead of you cheering me on, you became a standing far off, almost like the school of the prophets, and you just stood afar off, and instead of cheering me on, you just you became a naysayer or a long shot watcher from a distance.
Yeah.
Told you. Told
That's
you.
what he does.
That's what he does.
Does that, Mike?
So you will know someone is toxic when they believe their revelation should cause God to change. In Cain's mind, he believed that what he had should have been good enough for God. He learned over time from Adam and Eve what God required, and what God required was a blood sacrifice. Even though Cain is not a shepherd, Bishop states that he could have gone to his brother and tell Abel that he needed a sheep, because that the God that we serve does not change, and he cannot change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. It has already been established in the Garden of Eden that when you bring him a sacrifice, it must be a redemptive sacrifice, which is with blood. So let me ask you guys, do you believe that individuals cannot identify their own toxicity because the relationship that they have with God?
I think that aspect of, oh, it's good enough is what can really get us in trouble.
I think that pride and ego can get in the way too. And also, if you're listening more to society than to what the Word of God actually says, because societal wise, a lot of things that, like, even some of the things that we do, societal wise, it's like we could be Christian and do X, Y, Z, but like the book says something completely different. So it's like, are we following God's word, or are we following what we heard somebody say that was God's word? You know what I mean? So like, so in that like depiction of like Cain and him not going to his brother, I think that was an ego thing too. Because I feel like there was already, like, he was already toxic, so there was already like probably jealousy there, you know. So I think a lot of things play into that, you know.
Mike, can you explain that? Mike, do you mind explaining that? It's good part again. It's really good. I think
it's good enough. Like for me, like the first thing I think about relating to that is, of course, tithing. You know, and giving what you're comfortable with, thinking that it's good enough or that it will satisfy, where God is really calling us for more.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what Cain was doing. I think like that's what Cain had in mind. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Come on, Minister LeBeau. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deep.
And to add to that, to what Maya was saying, also understanding, you know, that if you need help, ask for it. You know, that couldn't have been the first time they gave an offering.
Yeah.
Or they witnessed an offering being given.
Right.
And they witnessed when it was pleased, and when it pleased God, and maybe when it didn't please God. So noticing, you know, within yourself and within your circumstance, like, okay, all I have is this, but I want to give God my best. Can you help me?
Yeah.
You know, and that's called faith partnership.
Yeah.
You know, unity. And God would have been like, oh, my two sons got together and gave me the best that they had. I'm going to bless both of them. You know, versus, oh, this is all I got. You know, and this is going to be the best. And he's really asking you for something that you could get to.
Right. I like that.
It's really good. It's fun because the Bible talks a lot about blood sacrifice or animal sacrifice, but not a lot about prop side sacrifices. I mean, it's there, but you know, so you got a picture that he's seen prop sacrifices and animal sacrifices as he was growing up. That's a really good point. That he should have known what a good sacrifice looked like. Wow, yeah, he should have known what a good sacrifice looked like, and gave what he thought was good. You could ask questions or something. You know, it's the way you could have found out, and now that you look at it, it's like you could have did better.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do want to encourage you guys to also ask any questions that you have in the comments as well. You know, as you can see, this discussion's already good. Sister Des had to take a drink. But no, we want you guys to add to the conversation as well, and also answer the questions so we can, you know, pull up here, Sister Maya can read them, and you know, we can have a discussion. All right.
Somebody should repeat the question again, but I don't know if we have the time to go back. But you can see.
Oh, the last question I just asked.
Yes.
So-
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Do you believe that individuals cannot identify their toxicity because of the relationship they have with God? Right. And I think that just comes with our identity as well, because if we know who we are, like I just know, I'll just use myself as an example. Throughout the series, I've been not only doing, outreach, like thinking of who may be toxic or some toxic ways, but I'm also thinking of my own toxicity and how my own toxicity may have been enabling someone else's toxic ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I truly believe that if you don't, if you're not under the right word or the right teaching, you won't see that. You'll always look on the outside like, oh, this person's toxic, I need to get rid of this person. But what are you doing to make that person toxic or add to their toxicity? So it's that internal, right? So that's what I think.
Turn that mirror, bro.
Go ahead.
So we want you guys to
You better
add
out some
to it as
anointing
well.
or something.
It's the oil.
It's the oil. It's the oil. It's the because we did engage yesterday. I'm still on this high. But a toxic individual has a problem accepting responsibility for their own actions, even though what they have done is wrong in God's eyes. Toxic individuals do not have the favor they thought they were entitled to because they make idols out of themselves and start to believe that everything that they get, they are entitled to. Cain thought he was entitled to God accepting his sacrifice, but he forgets what he was taught by his parents because suddenly Cain's grown now and he has a new way he wants to do it, and it does not matter what he was taught. Toxic people discard what they have been taught and establish what they think is a new protocol. So there may be a toxic person that wants to come into your life and wants to tell you how to run yours. On the other hand, you may have someone who is wise come into your life and give you advice when you are obviously making a whole lot of mistakes. Whole lot of mistakes. That doesn't mean that makes them toxic. We learned that Cain has a fundamental problem because he knows what to do and does not do it. So let me ask you guys, I think I've asked this question like on different series and everything, but on this letting go of toxic people series, how do we identify the difference between constructive criticism and someone who is just trying to tell us how to live our lives?
Oh, that's a good question. Good question.
Say it one more time.
How do we identify the difference between constructive criticism and someone just telling us how to live our lives? Because like Bishop said, there may be toxic people that may come into your life and just tell you do this, do that. And then we've been around so many toxic people that when someone actually is coming around and when we're doing something wrong, they're like, hey, we're looking at it like, oh no, this is not good advice, when it actually is good advice. So how do we identify that difference between constructive criticism and a toxic person? Go ahead, Deacon.
I was going to say, it's usually constructive criticism is usually found in relationship.
Yep.
Those people that just want to do as I tell you and be gone, they usually don't have a lot of investment. Those that will constructively criticize you is usually people that you have had a relationship with or are in the middle of building one.
Okay.
And they have that access to you to be able to constructively criticize you. But those people who are just like supervisors or somebody you see every now and again that it just has something to say all the time. They're usually just birthing that out of a boss syndrome is what I like to call it, where they just want to be bossy for no apparent reason. It may not be nothing wrong, but it's that's just their nature. But usually for me in my life, most constructive criticism comes from people that I am in relationship with, not outside people, because a lot of outside people, they just say stuff to say it.
Okay. I like that. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. I definitely think it depends on your intention too, behind, your intention and your love. So I agree what you said with like your relationship and if it's coming from a place of love. So yeah, absolutely.
I think I agree with all that, and I think it's part of compassion. And I think it can even come from a person that's not connected to you if it comes with passion.
Right.
I mean, not passion. So someone who means you no harm and really are looking out for your well-being. But you know, it's part of what we perceive. Some of this we already know going into it. So if they come with some compassion and love, then you know you'll see you know, you might see somebody come up to you that you don't even know in a store, and they've seen something, they've been watching you for a while, and they might speak something into you, but it's done with love and compassion, and then you might have to go back and think about it for a while, but it may be true about your personality and something that you need to correct. So you know, we can't discount it, but at the same time we have to know it's done with some love and compassion. That's the difference between something that's just toxic and just coming and trying to, you know, fuss at me or preach over me, or something that's very offensive.
Sister Maya, did you want to go ahead?
Oh yeah, sure. So Carolina Chica says, do you think sometimes, there it goes, do you think sometimes two people don't show their toxicity until trials pull certain things out of them, but they are still good people?
Of course. Yeah, I definitely feel like different experiences that go through our life, it really does like show those toxic ways, you know, especially like, you know, when you're put in different positions and stuff like that. What do you guys feel?
I mean,
time and circumstance. It's going to show you everything you need to know about a person. And if you're in a relationship, especially relationship wise, if you get in a dark situation and that comes out, toxic comes out, oh, you don't want to deal with that, you know, unless they're able to fix that, because it's always going to be good times. I want to know what you look like when it's bad times. I want to know how you treat me when it's bad. You treat me, you know, the good times are lovely. First 2 or 3 months, all this lovely dovey. I want to know what it looks like when it's bad. And if you show me you can love me when it's bad, and it doesn't come out brewing over my head, then there's a difference. I can talk about it. I'm done.
Come on, Rev. Come on. Go ahead, sisters. I'm sorry.
You're okay. I was gonna say, you can only hide for so long, honestly.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that true.
What does Pastor Nick say? He says a person can only hide themselves for a year, right? It was something like that, or he says for so many months or something like that. Don't quote me, but he always does say that, especially in our young adult meetings. He says that.
You can always show that face. You know, we always have that face, and that face goes away at times.
It's always interesting when people show you. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
Okay, no, you can continue.
I was gonna say, when they show you like a little bit of the toxic in the beginning, and then you put those rose-colored glasses on, and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, and then those things get knocked off your face, and you're like, oh, this is wrong.
Right.
Be alert.
I was just gonna say, I feel like Bishop alluded to this in the message this week, is that people carry it in their faces, like you'll see it. So definitely.
Oh my God. That part we're gonna get to that part. That part definitely did hit different. But thank you for that. It was Carolina, right?
Carolina Chica.
You gotta say it. You gotta say the whole username. Carolina Chica.
I love it. Thank you. That was a great question. So when God does not do what toxic people want him to do, even though they have been disobedient, they have to focus their emotions on a person who is in the will of God. Bishop said that he does not want us to be surprised when the problem people have with you is the strength of your relationship with God. And that strength can be seen in the things that you do. When you are a person of worship, a person of sacrifice, or a person of service, it gets on toxic people's nerves. So all you're doing is going about your business, and all of a sudden you find out that this person who you trusted has a problem with you. So how do we continue to demonstrate God's work without being seen as we are better than others in a toxic individual's perspective? Because we kind of alluded to it earlier when we have those people that are around us, you know, and then we get saved, rededicate our life, and, you know, we start saying things, and then you try to give people advice, and they're like, oh, just because you go to church and then you go to Bethany, you think you're better. How do we continue to demonstrate God's work in our walk without being seen as being better than others?
Humility. Humility. Grace and patience.
Yeah.
That's really, you know, the three. You know, you have to be humble in everything that you do. You know, if you're out there being cocky, being a show off, like I'm reading my Bible, I'm doing this,
Yeah.
you know, it's not going to go well. You know, what else say? Well, humility, Jesus, Lord.
Grace, patience.
Yes, you have to give people grace because not everybody's going to be where you are.
Yeah.
You know, and it took time for you to get there, so give them that time. And then patience with people, because as your nature changes, people are going to ruffle your feathers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you also have to be patient with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you're growing to understand all these other people. So
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that.
and I agree. I think all those three things definitely you need to do, but at the same time, I think that that's a burden that you shouldn't carry, because you're never going to make somebody happy. You could be humble, you can have grace, you can have patience. That's still going to ruffle someone's feathers.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do about it, but just continue to do you and do things in the right spirit.
That's it.
All right. I like that.
Ditto. I think, I mean, you can't please everybody. I mean, all that and Deacon said is so true, but you're not going to be able to please everyone. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you have to be the best version God has for you. And so show up with that best version, and whether people hate on you, you know, whatever they do at that point, it doesn't matter. But you do the best to make sure God is pleased. And as long as He's pleased, we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like, oh, go ahead, Sister Des, were you going to say something?
I was going to, but go ahead if you want to talk.
No, I was going to say that I feel like when you're under like good word and good teaching, and like you're reading your Bible and you're doing what you have to do, that is the comfort that gets you through those times when people ruffle your feathers and stuff like that. You should just be in tuning your relationship with God and everything, especially as you're growing and learning more, that certain things you just brush it, you know,
because all it is a distraction. You know, me knows the path that you are on, and will try to use those emotions to try to, you know, get you sidetracked.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Our young sister Shania always says, "Mind the business that pays you." And like, she's a clown, but like it's real, you know. And not necessarily the business that pays you, but like if it's not in the will and it has nothing to do with what's going on in your life.
So real.
And I think too. Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead, man.
Pastor during communion last night, you know, he spoke on Judas, and he said, "Oh gosh, of course now I can't remember it." Oh, is it there? God is trying to see how you will respond to whatever Judas you're facing. He's looking to see what your response will be. So don't get caught up in, oh my gosh, this person doesn't like me, or you know, even stoop to that level of trying to come back to it. You got to stay on course.
Yeah.
Come on, little boo.
And to be honest, I mean, sometimes it's very tough because you know the enemy knows what to send you that will ruffle your feathers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not easy, but you know, everything we said is so true. But sometimes it's not easy because it's the main thing that you don't want to ruffle your feathers will be the main thing that shows up. Like,
hits you where it hurts.
I can defeat everything else but this. Like, geez,
right.
And like, geez, okay.
No, but that's so true. And also, guys, please post any comments, questions that you have, or answer the questions. All right. Toxic people are tremendously adept at hiding their true feelings for you for a little while. Toxic people decide they are going to change the rules of the game simply because of who they think they are. Toxic people are masters at appearing to be okay with you around you. The text indicates that Abel does not know about Cain's true feelings towards him. Bishop stated that just because a person is successful does not mean they cannot be toxic. Also, sometimes people are toxic because your success is different than theirs. Toxic people are never satisfied with their own prosperity because their toxicity is driven by jealousy. So earlier, Sister Des alluded to that pride and ego add to people's toxicity. So I'm going to ask you guys, in addition to what Bishop stated about toxicity being driven by jealousy, what other characteristics characteristics do you think drives a person's toxicity?
Insecurity, like being insecure. But I feel like that also goes hand in hand with being jealous, though. So, you know, like there's something lacking within you. So you need to try to belittle this person or show up negatively in this person's life.
Okay. I like it.
That's a good question.
Because Bishop has said most of it. So I'm trying to.
Because that jealousy aspect, right? Like that definitely drives toxicity, because it will make you, like we always say, which ties back to the identity aspect of it, is when you don't know your own identity, you'll want to borrow someone else's identity and try to make it fit for your life, which is a toxic trait. It doesn't truly bring you happiness if that's really not your calling or your identity or anything. So you get jealous of it, right? But like Sister said earlier, I feel like our ego sometimes will make us dismiss a lot of things that God shows us about our toxic ways or toxic people around us, our pride. I'm not going to do certain things. Or like Sister Mai said earlier, when it comes to that tithing aspect, someone may say, I just tithed last week. Well, I got tithe again. Or, you know, but we learn the importance of it, right? So those are the examples of other characteristics that I could think of.
Would you consider unfulfillment
I was thinking that
a
too.
root of toxicity?
Not being satisfied and
with your own life,
the blessings you have.
That's good.
Wow. That is good.
Unfulfillment, because a lot of people do that, especially I think people do that in church. If they're not fulfilled outside of church, they'll try to fulfill everything in church. And they will put themselves in positions or feel like they should be in a certain position that God ain't called them to be. And because of the godly thing in church, they're going to put themselves in a pastor's position, and God didn't call them to be a pastor. You know, they just try to make up for what the outside world they felt like they couldn't control. So
yes, that's good. That's good.
So we just gave some examples of other toxic things that we can do outside of jealousy, right?
Like that could also tie into like a parent-child situation too. Like if a parent didn't fulfill everything they wanted to do in their own lives, and then they like put that weight on their kid.
So that could be toxic too, right? You can be toxic from from a parent to a child. But I think jealousy is the biggest thing, though. It's just hard to address the jealousy part. It's so hard.
It is hard. It definitely is. And Bishop hit it right on the nail. Hit the right on the nail when it came to what drives a person's toxicity. Toxic people kind of specialize in looking upset to get your attention. This is because the moment you ask them what is wrong, a toxic person will say something when you can tell. They will say nothing when you can tell that by looking at them that something is seriously wrong. What happens is when a toxic person gets your attention and you fall for it and ask what's wrong, which they respond nothing, they want you to ask again. This is because what they need to do is persuade you that they are not as wrong as God says they are.
Wow.
Cain did not bring to God what God asked him for, and God said that was sin, which is the cause. Abel is respected because Abel does what he has been taught. In the process of time, they were both exposed to the same wisdom, but toxic people always feel as though they can change the dynamic of what they have been taught. It is virtually impossible for a jealous person or toxic person to follow your instructions to the letter. They have to rewrite the instructions so it appears as though it came from themselves. And when it does not work, they have a problem. Their problem is not with God, though. It is with the person who followed the rules. There's a lot of things to unpack here, guys. So let's go back to when you're around toxic people and they put on this front like something's wrong, but there's actually nothing wrong. They just want your attention, right? And Bishop kind of alluded to that last week when he talked about they're just looking for that love aspect, but they're going about it the wrong way, right? How do you guys feel about that when Bishop talked about that? People putting on this front that something's wrong, but it's actually nothing wrong. They just want attention from you.
Attention getters.
Well, yeah,
I think it's important to identify them early. You know, they're kind of in today's society, it's kind of easy to fill out who's an attention goer because they do the same thing every time. And then usually, you know, what you don't feed will die. So or not grow, so to speak. Let's be a little nicer. Will not grow. So that aspect of it is is important. But I also think some people need constructive criticism when it comes to their how can I say this word? Their neediness. Like everybody does it, if you need something, say it. Don't put on the front to get my attention. If you really need me, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Don't pimp my discernment because you refuse to say something,
Can you repeat that?
Don't pimp my discernment
Jesus.
because you refuse to open your mouth.
That's good.
I'll be
Don't pimp my discernment.
There we go.
All right, Deacon.
Well, all right. Does anyone want to piggyback off that? So let me ask you guys, what are your thoughts about toxic individuals?
Somebody say you need to print that on shirts.
Yeah, you need to. Go at the Harvest bookstore. Sell at the Harvest bookstore. There we go. Amen. Yes, God. Thank you, Jesus. But what are your thoughts about toxic individuals having a problem with the person that followed the rules and not God?
Say it one more time.
What are your thoughts about toxic individuals having a problem with the person that followed the rules, but not a problem with God?
Oh, they have a problem with the person, but they don't have the problem with God. That sounds like their problem.
Yeah.
That sounds like you hating on me because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but like you need to fix your relationship with God. Like, that I don't know. That sounds like forgive me if I'm like. That sounds like a personal issue.
I think that's the great answer. It sounds like a personal issue.
Yeah.
Don't pit my discernment.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I feel like that could be a whole sermon series though, for real.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that all the time now. So Cain did not like Abel's position in the family. No matter what Abel did for Cain, his toxicity would not allow him to appreciate his brother because only pride would make him not ask his brother if he could buy a lamb from him or could they both give the lamb together. When you are toxic, you do not want to share any glory or favor. Cain kills Abel because of Cain's disobedience to God. Cain becomes murderous because God has respect for Abel's offering and did not have respect for Cain's. Cain is upset enough to kill Abel because toxic people think that if they get you out the way, that it will change their situation with God. He was essentially removing competition. Toxic people on the job try to undermine you to remove the competition. Panel, how do you handle a toxic person, whether it's on your job or in your ministry, that starts to attack your character and your name?
Oh my. Oh my.
I think you have to be humble. You have to have grace and patience.
No.
That's a hard one. Because those are fighting words, for real. Like when you're coming after my character, okay.
You gotta have some conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta talk. As Bishop says, I got some talk for you. We got to talk.
It wants to take you back to the BC days, the before Christ days, right?
Yeah. But I was going to say, one of the first places, of course, you talk to God about it before you do anything. Mm-hmm. Because when somebody attacks your character, that's a very personal attack, and you want to handle it in a very personal way. That's the easiest way I can say it. So, talking to God, but then also talking to your leadership, whether it's somebody who's over you at the job or somebody or your pastor or your ministry head, and be like, okay, this happened. How should I go about this?
Yeah.
So that you're not necessarily inflicting another wound on the person, because some people have more wisdom than we do when we have to deal with these situations.
No, definitely. I think sometimes you need a mediator to kind of keep things level, because again, when it's on your character, that's for me, an emotional thing, and like you gotta be around someone who can think clearly for you, for lack of better words, and will hold you accountable to things too. To say, okay, you were wrong for such and such, and you were wrong too for whatever. So,
no, I'm not wrong. Just playing.
You never, Kevin.
Sister Des, you were gonna say something.
I was just gonna reiterate. Again, that sounds like a personal issue for you. Seriously, because if you are coming at me and attacking my character, like my character is gonna speak for itself.
Yeah.
I'm like if you're going to somebody, like if it's a work related situation and you're trying to attack me and go to the supervisor and say XYZ, well, the supervisor has a good enough rapport with me to know that I wouldn't even act in whatever way that you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's like it's whatever word, whatever rumor, whatever it is that you're trying to start or spew and stir up against who I actually am and who they know me to be. So again, that's your issue. That's your problem. That's honestly, because why am I going to get worked up behind something that you're saying when when the person that you're saying whatever to knows me as well and knows that I wouldn't act or do or say these things.
I hear you.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. I still be upset about it though.
Yeah.
No, you get upset about it, but but I don't think that it calls for I'm not going to sit here and have a conversation with you about it because you're wrong already. I'm not even going to give you any energy. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm not going to show you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, I guess that's with that. When it comes to dealing with a situation like that, I think what we definitely have to pray for is that peace, because you want to approach it in a certain way, but you got to say to yourself, like, hey, I know what they're saying is not true. So
exactly.
I can't let them get me out my element, get me out my character if I know that's not. But again, it is hurtful because it's just like, yo, you out here, especially let's say you're on a job, you're a young professional, you're still building that resume, you're still building that rapport, you're still building those relationships. So it attacks you hard internally. So I definitely think praying for that peace first before you make any actions, whether it's going to speak with them or speak to someone higher than you, you got to get yourself first level-headed first before you go into that arena.
Yeah.
And then even if you don't speak, that prayer part is going to help keep you in the middle of seeing their face.
Yeah.
Because you may have a moment like, ooh.
We still human.
It's gonna come back around for them. You know?
And then like Ben said, and then that goes what Dana said. She said, make sure the things people say about you are not true first.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So
yeah, because that is true. Because like Sister Maya said, you may bring that mediator in there, and they may say, okay, well, not putting the blame on you, but you find out some things like what.
Well, you do this, yeah.
Right. So,
and I think it's important. Going back to being humble, you have to be able to hear those tough things of the toxicity that you give out. So, it's not a fun situation to be in, but you grow from it in the long run.
Yeah,
it's all about growth. So toxic people always attack what your name is known for, because toxic folk are jealous. They get no satisfaction out of you getting favor. They get no satisfaction out of a family member getting promoted, because they are jealous and they are very superficial people. The hardest thing to get out of a toxic individual is an apology. This is because they want you to change for them. They want you to love them enough to accept them no matter what they do, but they do not love you enough to change. Toxic people are all about establishing their identity in the life of another person. And if they cannot, They want to eliminate them from the equation. A toxic person is always looking for a platform on which to star. So there may be someone that's watching right now that's they may be dealing with a family member or a friend that is in a toxic situation, right? So what advice would you give a family member or a friend that is currently in a toxic relationship but they cannot see it in your perspective?
That's hard.
So they can only see it from their perspective, so they don't see it as being toxic.
That's hard. Because when someone can't see what you see, they're automatically gonna get defensive, or deny, what you're saying. So the hardest part is getting them to actually see it from your side. So the best thing I would say for them is to, tell that person to be very watchful, to be to pay attention to the subtleties of the things that are going on, and then try to reflect on how you feel when certain things are happening. Like if you feel a certain way, then this isn't good for you, or don't just ignore it because of how you feel for the person. Process it as as what it is.
I think this is where boundaries come in at, because you're not in agreement, but this is what I'm saying that makes me feel, or how you make me feel, or what you said is, basically it makes me feel a certain way. So in that instance, I don't want you to do that anymore, or I want you to treat me like that anymore. So that's where boundaries come in. Whether you agree or disagree, this is what I'm saying, that I don't want how I want to be treated or not want to be treated, or how I want to be talked to, or how I want to be, whatever the situation is. Basically, you're setting up a boundary to let them know that this is where we're at, and this is how I want, how I want to be treated. And it should be vice versa. We should be able to treat each other the way, that we ask, in the way that we are able to communicate that to someone. Because even if you don't see it, maybe you'll see it later on, but right now, this doesn't make me feel good when I'm treated a certain way.
I like that. Anybody else want to add to that?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'll make sure I understand it correctly.
What advice would you give a family member or a friend that is currently in a toxic relationship but cannot see it in your perspective?
Yeah. I think it's a tough situation to be in, because of course you want the best for your friend or family member. But I think it's also important to remember that they are on their journey, and, they may not see it from your perspective now. They may see it later, or they may never see it at all. But I think it comes to a point where you have to respect that they are on their journey, and sometimes they just have to go through things to learn from them. And as much as we're trying to, for lack of better words, force them into seeing, the toxicity that they're in with whomever, they may not see it until the time is right for them.
Right.
So I don't know the answer to your question, but
no, it was good. No, it was good.
It was really good.
I answered the question. That was good.
Yeah.
No, that was good. Let me see. Are any questions or any comments in the section on the live so far before we wrap up?
No. We just have some people who are asking for prayer. Keisha, we're definitely keeping your friend and his family, in our prayers.
Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. So toxic people never consider the result of their actions or the results of their words. They are almost surprised when you have an appropriate reaction to what they say or what they do. First thing that they do is deny any knowledge. Then when they cannot lie or deny anymore, sometimes they will appeal to your faith. But from here on out, you understand that you have grace, but that is not an excuse. Toxic people will use up your grace if they have the opportunity, but you are not going to let them anymore, because in order to let go of somebody toxic, you have to establish a boundary. We learned that God establishes boundaries for Cain to protect other people from his toxicity. When we are letting go of someone toxic, There will be a season when you have to let them go and allow the destiny that they have created for themselves to teach them a lesson that you cannot teach them. All you can do is pray about them and turn them over to God.
Mm.
So, panel, any final thoughts, comments about this additional layer to this letting go of toxic people series? It has been stirring up so many conversations, so many comments when Bishop and Pastor Nick are on live during the discussions and everything. Is there anything that you guys want to add to this?
Just go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that this is all very crucial in uprooting, like just uprooting old behaviors, old habits, old mindsets, because toxic people, when we are toxic ourselves, and when people around us are toxic, we can't live the best will that God has for us because we're still being held back, whether it's by ourselves or by the people around us. And I just think it's so timely as we continue to move and go into this next year. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Deacon?
I was just gonna say, as usual, go back and rewatch it. If this is your first time tuning in with us, go back and rewatch all of them because there's a reason why we're being taught this.
Yeah.
And you want to put yourself in the best position for what's coming after, because we don't know how long we'll be in the series, but there's a reason why we're in it right now. So definitely go back, rewatch it. If you have questions from the past, don't be afraid to ask Pastor Nick and Bishop when they're on their discussions. They'll really, really love to hear from you. So
most definitely, they will. Sister Maya, Rev Waters, you want to add anything? Any final thoughts?
Can I just say ditto?
Ditto.
Bring that back.
There was a lot of like little quotes tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch. But no, as Deacon Antoine said, we do encourage you guys to go back because this series, each layer, each week, every additional layer is better and better, and it's opening our perspectives, opening our eyes to different things around us. So these recaps, we try to do a great job of capturing everything that we learned on Sunday. But like we know that this recap is just a little piece. We're gonna get Sister Des one day.
One day.
I thought that Pastor Waters didn't do it. That's why I smiled so hard. I was like,
no, I got Pastor Nick to do it now. You're the next competition. But no, this is just a little piece of what we were taught. As you know, Bishop does an amazing job at teaching our sermons and everything. So we just try to capture what he says. But like as Deacon Antoine said, the best time to ask those questions, whether they were from 2 weeks ago, a week ago, is when you see Pastor Nick and Bishop on live, and they go live throughout the week and ask those questions, right? So talking about this week, as you guys know, go ahead.
Because Carolina Chica asked in the comments, what video did the series start? If you go over to the YouTube, either Bishop's channel or Bethany's channel, so you will see a playlist of all the sermons from this series. So
yes,
I can't say like what was the first video, but you'll find them all there.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to say this is like our 5th week in the series, I believe. Yeah. It's like our 5th week. So you got to go back to the archives and meet us next week so you can continue the conversation with us once you watch them, right? But as we are talking about everything that we have going on, everything that's posted, Sister Maya, social media team, everyone tries to do their best to keep you guys engaged during this time. So as you know, starting tomorrow, we have our ministry panels, which is our Diamonds Women's Ministry, Tuesday at 7 p.m. So please tune into them and check them out. And then following that, we have Wednesday, our Word Impact. Yes. If you think that we get fed on Sunday, we also get fed on Wednesday. We are full. This is why we're gaining so much weight, because we get all this word. We get all this word, right? But no, please tune into Word Impact with our incredible leadership from Bishop David G. Evans and Pastor Nick Smith. I'm sorry. And then Thursday, we have our panel, Sound Mind panel. It's continuing about the grief, right?
Yes.
Talking about grief. Okay, so please tune in. Like I say, these panels are structured to help not only us, but help you guys during this time as well. So please, we invite you guys to tune in, invite somebody, as well as drop your comments and also share the content. And then Friday, we get fed with all that good word throughout the week and all that good stuff. And then Friday, we have a little shadiness, a little fun with our Fresh Friday, our fresh crew. We are coming back. This is our first fresh this month. And we're gonna talk about some fun things. I'm sure that the fresh crew is gonna bring some laughs this Friday. We have a birthday to celebrate. So please tune in Fresh Friday, Young Millennials and our tweener leader. Pastor Nick, the tweener. We like to have a great time. We talk about relevant topics inside and outside the church, and we love to hear your feedback. So we encourage you guys to tune in with us, as well as Saturday On Point Radio and Emerging Worship Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Okay, and then Sunday we have our services, our encounter services at 8 and 11, and our Engage Live at 9:45. Guys, if you were not able to experience Engage Live this Sunday, I encourage you to please tune in. We like playing games. We like talking about the word, and busting it up. We like having a good time. We want you to feel like you're actually in the sanctuary with us in the Harvest Hall talking about service. So please tune in and also invite someone to tune in with us. And then Monday, Maximize Monday with our incredible Pastor Nick and incredible Sister Maya. And then you see this amazing panel next Monday at 5:30.
Back at it again.
Back at it again. Oh, thank you. I want to say thank you to all those that tuned in, share, like, comment. We really appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We want you guys to stay tuned throughout the whole week. We'll see you on social media. Panel, another great job. I love you guys.
Good job.
Love you too.
All right, you guys have a blessed week, guys. All right, see you later.
See you later.